Okay, this video I'm going to pre-lab you or give you some preliminary information about this lab, both with safety and just some instructions. So the lab that we're looking at is in the stoichiometry chapter. It's on the, it's called the Target Stoichiometry Lab. And what you're doing is we are going to be decomposing sodium bicarbonate. And there's a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to, and if you read through the handout, most of this information is on there, but there's also some things that I would tell you in the classroom. So you should read through this lab procedure before starting the lab. I also have a pre-lab quiz that you need to take. Keep in mind, we're going to be working with baking soda, and I have a test tube here labeled with has baking soda in it, and you just it tells you to put a scoop of baking soda into your test tube, and then it tells you to find its mass. So you need to know the mass in order to do the stoichiometry that we're going to be doing. So you need to record this exactly in your lab handout, maybe on the side somewhere or the back. I'm not sure. It depends on what data table you're working with. Okay. You need to know, I would like you to shake your test tube a little bit and it's kind of hard to see here with the white background, but if you shake the test tube a little bit to disperse the baking soda on an angle to get it to slide up so it's not all sitting at the bottom, you want the baking soda to push up the side, and then you're going to attach it onto the ring stand like it's shown in this picture. Now here's the thing, if you're heating something in a test tube, if it's going to have an adverse reaction and something were to leave this test tube, you want to have the open-ended of the test tube pointing away from all the people in the classroom. So whenever you attach your test tube to the ring stand, make sure that this is pointing towards a wall and not towards lab members or the people on the other side of your table. Okay, so you're going to need to secure this into the test tube. Secure this into the ring stand, and you're going to want it to be, it tells you 20 centimeters above the lab desk. You need to have some distance here between your flame and your test tube, but you don't want it to be too great that it's not going to heat up the material that's in the test tube. So a couple of inches, maybe 3-4, and if it's not the right height, you can adjust it. I would adjust this before you light the flame. So, set it up, put the burner underneath of your ring stand, and then decide if you think it's the right height before you light it. Couple of things about burners. There are some rules. You will need to have your Bunsen burner. Make sure that it spins, that the top spins and that the bottom spins. You need to connect it to the gas jet. You need to have goggles on your eyes, and you need to make sure that somebody stays with your Bunsen burner when it's lit. So you're going to light it and someone stays at the table at all times. You will want to adjust that flame so that it's not it's a short blue flame. We'd like to have blue. You don't want a real tall floaty flame. You need it to be, concise. It should sound kind of, you can tell that it's burning. It should be, you're ultimately looking for a cone inside of your flame that is blue. Okay. You are going to want to heat your test tube, and you're going to also need to make sure that you adjust this test tube so that it covers the full length of the flame. Needs to cover the full length of the test tube so that you're heating this area and you're heating anything that appears or moves up the side of the test tube. Okay. You are not doing the part here where it says about the universal indicator, but it tells you in step 8 you're going to light a wooden splint. And a wooden splint is kind of like a coffee stirrer. You're going to light this into your Bunsen burner so it's lit on fire. You're going to put it into the mouth of your test tube, and if the flame goes out, it tells you what kind of gas you are producing. In number 9 it says, if the splint glows brighter, the gases being given off include oxygen. If the splint extinguishes itself, then it's carbon dioxide. So you're doing a test here to decide what kind of gas you're making. Then it tells you to look at the top half of your test tube as it's heating and identify that substance that's formed there. Make sure that you you move the burner up and down the length of the test tube periodically so that you can heat the entire contents. And then it goes on to tell you that you're heating this entire thing for 8 to 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be exactly 8 to 10 minutes, but you need to heat it for a while, long enough that everything has decomposed. If you don't heat it long enough, it will not completely decompose. The other critical thing is you need to let the test tube cool for 5 to 6 minutes before you try to remove it from the ring stand and then find its new mass. It is critically important that you're able to get a mass at the beginning and then again at the end so that you can see what the mass changed. Now remember, some of the things, we're not breaking the law of conservation of mass, but some of the states have changed, so maybe you have a gas. There are places in here that they're telling you to read and answer specific questions, so you need to make sure that you answer these questions on the back, because as you answer these questions, it's helping you build a chemical equation that you're going to use to do some stoichiometry. When you're finished, depending on the state of your test tube, after it's cooled, you're going to find its mass, and then you're just going to rinse out the solid that's in the test tube at the end. It is no longer baking soda. It has now decomposed into something else. You need to record your data here. Here's the mass of the test tube and the baking soda, and then the mass of the sodium bicarbonate alone. At the end, you are going to want to record the mass at the end. There is no space on your data table, so you are going to want to write it down somewhere, because if you do not, you will not be able to complete this lab experiment. Again, think safety in mind. We are going to have lit Bunsen burners. That means you need to have your hair tied back, so be aware of hair and clothes. Be aware that you do not need to have any additional junk back in the lab station. There should be no eating. You need to have somebody remain with the Bunsen burner at all times, and no horseplay. Good luck, and I'm sure that this lab, you'll have fun with this, and it's an easy experiment to get good results.